Before you buy a home in Florida, there are some extremely big differences that you should be aware of. We've encountered this with a few clients. They were kind of confused on some things, so we want to cover that in this video.
And we're getting started right now.
So she is the realtor on the channel. I just kind of help out and do what I can do and know what I know, but I don't know a lot of the contract details. And that contract and the whole process of buying the home is a little different here than in other states. And if you're not aware of those differences, you might be confused on certain steps of the process. So tell us some of the main things people should be aware of.
Yeah, so the contracts we use in Florida are the as-is contracts specific to Florida. And the main difference between an as-is and a regular contract is that you are buying the property as is. So if, say, there is an issue with the property, technically you're buying it as is, but there are some protections there for you as the buyer and the seller that we're gonna discuss right now. And one of those protections is that you have a 10-day inspection period. Now, we were in a crazy market, and for the last year and a half or so, we were using, instead of going the 10-day inspection, which on the contract it actually says 15, so you have up to 15 days, but no one really does 15 days, and the seller is not gonna agree to that because it's customary to do 10. But for a while we were doing 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, just because this makes your offer so much stronger. But in a regular market, it's very common to just do the 10 days. And what happens during this 10 days is you're going to have an inspection. So you're going to have a qualified licensed inspector come to your new home and
hopefully, potentially.
Yes, inspect it. They're going to do inspections and make sure, everything it's working the way it should be. If the inspection report comes back with a big problem, say the roof is leaking, which is pretty common, I would say, in Florida. If the roof, or maybe it's not leaking, but it leaked at one point, or if there are any other issues that you don't like and now you're second guessing yourself, like, should I go through with this offer or not? Those 10 days protect you, and you'll have 10 days to make that decision. So after you have the inspection, do you wanna go through with the purchase? Do you maybe feel like, okay, no, I don't wanna pay this much for this home, it's not worth it to me? Then now we go back to the seller and try to renegotiate, whether that's bringing the price down or giving you a credit at closing, or maybe fixing the issues. So even though you're buying the property as is, you're technically still protected, and you're technically not buying it as is because you have the option to get out of the contract. But most of the times, I would say the seller either agrees to fix it before closing or giving you a credit. If you have that option, I would say just take the credit because it would be the easiest, especially if for a while our like construction or roofers or like a lot of companies were so booked out that like it was difficult to even try to get an estimate. Getting the credit at closing is like the easiest and quickest way, because now you're not sitting here waiting for someone to come and fix it, and that could potentially cause an issue with closing, because if it's not done before closing, you can't go to the closing table. So I would say if you were experience that, just make sure you get the estimates and take the credit instead of trying to fix it.
So what's the difference then, so people are aware, because other states do things differently. So in another state, give us an example of how that process would happen, as far as something's wrong with the house or it's not an as-is contract, because a lot of people are going to come in from another state and think it works the same way potentially, or maybe they're talking to a realtor that they had worked with in the past in their state, and then things are different. So how is it different in other states?
First of all, if you're buying a property in a different state, don't talk to your realtor in your own state, even if you have a great relationship, even if it's a friend or a family member. They are a local expert in your state, in your hometown maybe. They are not a local expert in a different state. They are not a local expert in Florida. This will cause so many issues between you, that other realtor you're talking to, and your realtor here in Florida, for example, if it's me, because
there's gonna be a lot of confusion.
And a lot of back and forth. That realtor is going to be telling you, no, this is how it should be done. And then you're gonna come to me and you're gonna be like, okay, why aren't we doing this way? And then I'm gonna explain, like, this is how things work, blah, 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 right? But I would say the main issue is if you don't trust your realtor in other state you're buying in, and that's the reason why you're talking to a different realtor, don't work with that realtor. Try to get another realtor that you trust, because it's going to create so many issues. Like, you're not going to trust that the realtor in this new state, so like me, that I'm doing my job correctly, and that's why you're trying to get more tips. So don't do that. If you don't trust me, don't work with me. And that would be the easiest way to go about it. But to go back to your question, the main difference, and again, I'm a local real estate expert in Florida, not in a different state, but I do know that a lot of states use just a regular contract. The main difference between an as-is and a regular contract is that for an as-is, you have the 10-day inspection period. For a regular contract, you don't have the inspection period, but on the contract, you can put an amount. So if something comes back as a problem, the seller will pay up to $5,000, $10,000 to fix it, or we can get out of the contract. Well, what happens if it's more? Like the seller is gonna only pay up to $5,000 or $10,000, whatever you have in the contract. Well, say that something like really bad comes back, or more than one thing comes back, which equals $15,000. The seller is only going to pay up to $10,000, and now that $5,000 is up to you to fix it, and you can't get out of the contract because the seller is holding their end of the contract by paying that $10,000. So now it's your responsibility to come up with the $5,000 on top of, everything else, like the closing costs and everything else. So in my opinion, the as-is better.
So basically here, then you kind of get that period of that inspection period to say, I want this fixed, and they can say yes or no. And
yes. And another thing that I should mention is that when you send in an offer, you send in an escrow deposit. You don't send it at the time you're sending the offer, you send it after your offer has been accepted. Typically, this is 1% of the purchase price, so that is a lot of money, right? Well, during your 10-day inspection period, you can walk out of the contract and still keep your escrow, so you get your money back. But if, say, you want to get out of contract at day 11, then the seller is going to want to keep that escrow. And I mean, it's only fair, right? They took the house out of the market for you, and it's now 11 days, and now you're walking out of the contract. So it makes sense to me that they should get paid what they are. And the other thing too is that you want to get out of the contract anytime after your inspection period. They can claim the escrow money, and they also could sue you. I mean, it's no secret that anyone can sue anyone for no reason at all. So they could sue you because of the time that they lost on the market. They could, claim that they could have sold to someone else in that period of time, and now you wasted their time.
And it doesn't look good if a house comes off the market
Yes.
and goes back on.
It's like, what's wrong with it?
And all that
Yes.
stuff, yeah.
Yes.
So it definitely makes it harder for them to sell it in the future. So that being said, if you are looking to move to Florida and you trust her and you're looking to move to this area or really anywhere,
make sure to call, text, or email me. I am a local realtor in the Sarasota County area, but I have great realtor connections throughout the state, and I would love to help you find a realtor in your area. Contact information will be in the description box below.
if you're looking to move to Florida, we have a full playlist about moving to Florida. You can check it out right here. And if you want to know more about any of the areas that we cover, links to playlists for those will be in the description below. Hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on all notifications. Leave a comment with any other questions you have, and we'll get to it in a future video. And
Live breezy.